welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Josh. Today we are going to the minnow trapping factory. If you've ever seen a minnow trapping video on YouTube or you've ever minnow trapped, there's a pretty good chance you have seen or used the traps that come out of this factory. If you watch Kendall Gray, he's a pretty popular YouTuber. He uses traps made at this factory. So yeah, should be a lot of fun. We'll see you guys there. So it is a bit later. We're actually just coming back from minnow trap factory. The owner, he was a really nice guy, set us up with some cool stuff. It's in the back seat. We're going to take all the stuff back home, and we are going to do a little side-by-side comparison of these really awesome state-of-the-art made in America minnow traps versus the cheap crap, you would get from China. And then at the end of the day, we're going to set some minnow traps, hopefully catch some minnows. Alright, it is about a week and a half later. We were unable to get to minnow trapping the other day. It proceeded to rain the last week and a half. Instead of the creek being like this, it was like this. Minnow trapping wasn't going to work out. While I was at the minnow trap factory, in addition to this beautiful American-made piece of fishing tackle and these beautiful American-made accessories, I also received this not so beautiful, not so American-made minnow trap. Now these technically are crawfish traps. You can see it's got a bigger hole compared to the minnow trap. These still do catch minnows, those still catch crawfish. It's just a design tweak in order to cater towards each specific species. Now we're going to go over some of the differences in this beautiful American-made minnow trap versus this not beautiful, not American-made minnow trap. There's actually 3 of them here. We will be making an example of how these are bad and inferior to this beautiful creation. First thing we're looking at before even taking these apart and putting them together is visibility of each minnow trap. The wires are a little bit thinner than this one, and also they're a lighter color. This trap is going to be a lot less apparent in the water. Also, people make fishing lures and they've got those little shiny boons on them. I'm not really sure what they're called. The shiny things attract fish. All right, minnows they're basically just small fish. You have a shiny trap versus a not shiny trap. If I'm a minnow, I'm going to the nice shiny trap. 10 out of 10 times. Next, we're going to look at how these minnow traps fit together. Real quick, this is what a G's minnow trap looks like when you get a brand new one. In the box, you're going to have a few foam cubes in there. This beautiful label. I believe these traps usually come with just one of these snaps. We got a handful here in order to lock the minnow trap together. Every piece of each one of these minnow traps is made by the same machine. So these snaps right here, they have one piece of machinery that makes all these snaps. Every single snap is exactly the same. Got 3 of them right there, all exactly the same. You couldn't tell one from the other. These are some examples of snaps that come with the not made to America minnow traps. Look at those 2 right there. That, I imagine, would be pretty difficult to snap onto a minnow trap based on how long that is and how small that loop on top is. This one in my right hand looks like it's made out of a completely different metal. And then side by side, you can see how much thicker the G's minnow trap snap is versus the made in China minnow trap snap is. This metal is a lot more durable, quite a bit thicker wire gauge compared to this one. Side by side, we have 5 of the Chinese trap snaps and 5 G's minnow trap snaps. Very uniform. All right, so we've got our Chinese crawfish trap and we have the G's minnow trap. So if you're looking at these side by side, you can see this one has a much more rigid construction. This one's a lot more flexible. If you step on this, it's kind of game over for it. This one also flexible, but much more rigid construction, especially on each end of the minnow trap. I'm putting some force on the top of this one. It's not really flexing much, but much less force on this one, and it's already starting to give way. Like I said, super durable, especially on the ends here. You have a double lip right there versus a single lip on this one. The big weak point on these traps, all these little wires that come up into this ring on the top, these are all welded. When you heat metal up, it stresses it out, it weakens it a little bit. So all these welds along the top of this minnow trap, I barely pressed on it. You can see it already broke. Right there. One wire broke. Those wires are super easy to break. All right, so you step sideways on this thing or like kick it a little bit. We come back to our beautiful American-made G's minnow trap. I'm pressing. There's no welds to break. Press as hard as you want. It bends a little bit, but Clearly it's not coming out of that lip. Other point I would like to make is how well these minnow traps fit together. As I said before, the G's minnow trap, every single piece of every single trap is made on the same piece of equipment. This top ring is made by the same machine as this top ring and the next top ring and the same top ring and every single trap. This band on the bottom is pressed in and made by the same machine every single time. These, however, are kind of just mass produced. This minnow trap and this minnow trap, even though they came shipped together, you can see some pretty big differences in the construction of each trap. First off, take a look at this latch right here, the thing that sticks out, and this one over here, this wire that's welded onto this top ring, like different lengths on either side where it comes down. This one's welded at even a little bit of a different angle than this one over here. And you look at this latch over here, this hole is a lot smaller than this hole, so you're probably going to have a hard time getting this part of the latch into this hole right here in order to get them snapped together, which I will demonstrate right now. That one went in perfectly fine. This one we're going to have to fight with a little bit. Had to apply some force. Went together fairly easy compared to some other ones though. This is the snap that came with the trap. This one appears to be in pretty good condition as far as the snaps go for these traps. All right, got her fit together. There is your made in China minnow trap for you. Now you're going to look at G's minnow trap. Look at those two little latches right there. 100% identical. You look at those latches right there, also 100% identical. Go ahead and fit these together. Went in super easy, didn't have to force it. Snaps together like that. Like this, it's together. Now with both of these, you are going to have some play. You have a little bit of a gap in this one. Nothing you're going to lose minnows out of if you're just pulling this out of the water like normal. However, we move on to the Chinese minnow trap. You've got quite a bit bigger of a gap in this one. A lot more play. Doesn't fit together as nice. This one, if I'm just holding it like this, there's little to no gap. Versus this one, on this side especially, you have a pretty significant gap in there. Now, are you going to lose minnows out of there? Maybe some real small ones, but it just doesn't look as nice. If you're going to go out of your way to spend money on a minnow trap, just get one that is better. Get the better one. Get the one that doesn't suck, okay? So this is a minnow trap. I literally just cut the tag off of it. All right, this has not been abused yet, unlike that other one. Now we're putting it together. I can't even get this latch into this little hole here. There's nothing uniform about these traps whatsoever, other than the general shape and color. All right, so we did have to force that in. We got it together. Let's get a snap. Already, right off the bat, those holes aren't even lined up. That's me not pushing it together at all. That's the two minnow traps sitting on top of each other. There's a huge gap in the other side. Those traps are off-centered quite a bit. See, there's quite a bit of a lip on this side. We flip it around. There's a pretty good lip on this side as well. And I did force it together. We kind of closed that gap, but I also destroyed the trap in the process because it's a piece of Chinese trap. I gotta go get that. You still don't believe me about the G's American Made Minnow Trap being better than the not G's not American Made Minnow Trap. Just look at them. This one's shiny, this one's not. You make the decision. We got one more test to run before we test these out in the water. So, American made G's minnow trap. This is the side that I broke the welds on, so we're just gonna toss that to the side. But then we have this half of a minnow trap, the Chinese made. We're gonna step on it. I weigh about 150 pounds. If you're a gentleman or lady of a certain size, you might not be able to do this. It might break the trap. They can only take so much. First, we're gonna step on the G's minnow trap. I got my foot centered on it. If you do wanna try this test at home, make sure you got your foot centered so you don't fall off and break your neck. Got all my weight. This one foot is off the ground completely. All my weight is on this minnow trap. I'm not holding on to anything. I'm literally just trying to balance on this minnow trap. 100% of my weight on this foot going on this minnow trap. I haven't tampered with this one yet. Still pretty much exactly how it was when it came out of the package. You already see, you're just putting a little bit of weight on it with your hands. It's flexing right there. I'm not very hopeful about this. We're gonna start putting some weight on it. Crumpled. I barely got my foot off the ground. That's a flat piece of crap. This is completely useless to me now. Now, in what context in the wild would you be stomping your minnow traps and flattening them? I don't know, maybe you accidentally stepped on it. Maybe you wanted to just sit down on your minnow trap. I'm just really tired right now. I need to sit down. What can I sit down on? I'm gonna sit down on this. I'm just gonna sit and ponder and think. Just need to rest my legs for a second. This is perfectly ready to go. Maybe you wanna sit on your minnow traps. You just wanna take a break. I'm not gonna do this because I need to trap minnows with this in order to show how terrible they are. But you're definitely not gonna sit on this. I wouldn't recommend sitting on G's minnow trap either, because it's not what it's for. But if you're in a survival situation, you need to sit down. You're not doing it on this. This is useless. By the way, if you watched this far in the video, first of all, thank you. Second of all, if you would like to order a G's minnow trap, they don't sell any directly out of the factory to consumers. Walmart sells them. Probably any sporting goods store would sell them. Probably find them on eBay, Amazon. I believe they're the only minnow trap made in the United States. And if not, they're the oldest since 1903. They've been in production. Now we're moving on to a couple of accessories. First of all, we've got this flat bottom bucket. Let's say you got 20 minnows. You're going fishing with your buddy the next day. You are in the market for 40 minnows. 20 for you, 20 for your buddy. Your job to catch the minnows. We've already got 20 of them in this trap. The trap's getting a little full. You know, you want to empty it. But you don't have a second minnow trap minnows with. And you've got nowhere to go with the minnow. You have no fresh water source for them other than the creek you just caught them out. So what do? The answer's simple. Take this trap right here. You then take your G's minnow trap lid. It's got styrofoam in there so it floats. Take your minnows out of your minnow trap. Dump them in this thing. Snap it shut. Got a nice little handle. Stick that in the water. It's not deep enough in the creek for it to float right now, but you get the idea, right? That styrofoam lid is going to float. This part of the trap and down is going to be underwater, so your minnows are going to have access to fresh water until you're ready to go use them. Let's say maybe you've got 100 minnows and you want to keep them in a nice big container. This might not be enough for 100 minnows. Maybe you want to give your minnows a little more space. Maybe they're big minnows. I don't know. But what you do then is you take this. This is an extension. Put it on there because all these accessories that are made by G's all fit together. That's on there. Okay? And you put your flat bottom on there. Snap it together like that. Throw this off the side of your boat. You've got minnows for days. Now let's say you're in a creek like this and you just want to keep your minnows alive in the creek. Maybe it's not deep enough to hold all these creek minnows you just caught. What are you going to do? You're going to take your floating lid off. You're going to take another flat bottom. Now you've got this giant horizontal minnow holding cell. Take your minnows, you put them in here. Also, if you want to trap a buttload of minnows all at the same time, you can take your minnow trap halves, and these also fit onto the extension. Just like that. Ooh, extra long minnow trap. And if you want to get a dozen of these extensions and put them all together and put minnow traps on the end of them, you can do that too. Let's say you got your flat bottom thing, right? Maybe you don't want to put a floating lid on it. Maybe you don't want it to float. Maybe you want it to go a little bit, drop it off the boat a little bit deeper. You can snap this shallow lid on top of this minnow trap. Look at that. Now you've got a nice little bucket. If you've watched any of my fur bearer trapping videos, I've actually used this as a sifter for my traps. That's not what it's for, but it just shows you how much of a versatile tool minnow trap is. Pretty cool.
Or you can put it on that if like that's the height you want it.
Like I said before, all these accessories and attachments are all universal. As long as it's made by G's, they all snap together, they all fit, you can do whatever you want. I don't know what situation you would have this configuration going on for, but if you want to do it, it can be done. All right, I've talked quite enough. We're now going to set some minnow traps. We're going to use the minnow traps, what they're actually supposed to be used for. For bait, by the way, we're going to be using moldy bread. Now, I don't know if minnows prefer it fresh or if they care, but this is what we got to work with. All right, we got some nice little green spots going on there. Let's put our minnow traps together. This one, it doesn't want to come apart right now. Throw some bread in there. It'll snap together like I did before. As I said before, it was raining a lot here. I'm not sure how that will affect minnows we get, but I'm not seeing any in the water right now. We're gonna set these minnow traps relatively close to each other. And that way, the difference in the number of minnows in each trap can't be blamed on the location of the traps. Tied off. Now we've got the Chinese made, not G's minnow trap. I call it the CCP minnow trap. You want to buy a communist minnow trap? I don't think so. We're going to throw this one just to the other side of those rocks. Both minnow traps are set. We're going to go clean up our stuff over there. And we'll come back in a couple hours and check these minnow traps. We'll see you then. So it's actually the next day. There were no minnows in the trap yesterday afternoon when I came back to check them. So here today, we're gonna do it and hopefully have some minnows. I don't know which string is which, so we're just gonna grab one. Chinese minnow trap coming up first. And we have grand total of 0 minnows. Now that doesn't mean that G's minnow trap performed any better. Maybe there just wasn't any minnows over here. Oh yeah, look at that. We've got quite a few in there, actually. Big ones, too. Nothing in the Chinese minnow trap. But we did pretty well. A lot better than I thought we would. Probably the biggest minnow I've ever caught right there. If not, close to it. Got rid of that moldy bread. Right there, dude. That's lunch, though. I mean, that's a decent-sized fishy. There's the rest of them in there. In total, we got the one I just threw in the water, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 minnows. As opposed to 0, that piece of crap. We can all get rid of these guys. I don't have a plan for them. I'm not gonna go fishing. At least not with these ones. Not today. I guess if you want to get like super technical, because this is a crawfish trap, the minnows could have swam out because it's a bigger hole. I was just working with what I had, okay? And if you want to use that logic, we should have caught some crawfish, but we didn't. Just can't compare to American-made minnow traps. That's gonna conclude today's video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are in the market for a minnow trap, buy a G's. I will put a link if you want to purchase one of those traps in the description of this video. And if you want to watch my latest minnow trapping video, click right here. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.